With the first day of summer quickly approaching, I thought there was no better time than the present to really talk about all of the ways we can decorate for the season, of course in a sophisticated way, but without breaking the bank. In this video, I'm going to share with you guys some of my top tips and tricks I like to use while shopping secondhand to get that high-end look, but in a budget-friendly way this summer. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. When it comes to decorating for summer, of course, a lot of us are spending a lot more time outdoors. And with that being said, the most expensive purchase we likely will make if we're in the market for it will be all of the outdoor furniture. So what I have come to find is that oftentimes people recycle through outdoor furniture seemingly more quickly than indoor furniture. And I believe that's probably because maybe they don't have the time or the resources to bring those outdoor pieces back to life, which works out really great for people like us who don't mind investing some time and a little bit of money into making something beautiful. As life just gets more and more expensive, it's important to try to find areas where you can save. For example, I love this table from McGee & Co., but it's almost $1,000. Jumping back over now to our thrifted bistro set, couple things that were missing were of course the umbrella, and then one of the chairs was starting to unravel. All things that of course we can fix and then tailor to our own personal design style. The color of this woven material is so reminiscent of things you can also find on McGee & Co.'s website, but again, for a small fortune. So we're just going to take a little bit of inspiration from the McGee & Co. website and apply it to this bistro set. You could, of course, just decide to paint these all black or whatever color you do like, but I wanted to keep that color of that woven material because I thought it was so beautiful. Just wasn't totally crazy about the green. So I took some enamel spray paint that I will link in the description box below in order to really give it that forged iron-like look. As for the top of the table, we will be doing a different application here, but there was some bubbling happening, so I just decided to sand that down so it was nice and smooth and took my shop vac to just remove any excess dust. After sealing that black paint with just a matte outdoor sealer, it's just time now to remove all of the paper and the tape, and time now to move over to the table. So I wasn't able to actually remove that middle section there, so I had to just slightly lift it in order to get the tape underneath so I could get a nice clean finish. Using that same spray paint that we used for the chairs and just applying that now to the legs of this table. In order to give this table a much more modern and stone-like finish, we're going to use a product called Henry's Feather Finish. Mixing it enough so you get almost a pancake batter consistency, just spreading that out with a putty knife, continuing to smooth it out all over the top of this table. Then I like to go in with an abrasive sander, so like 60 or 80 grit, taking my shop vac, removing any dust, and then to finish it off, go in with a paintbrush, slightly more watered down mix of your Henry's Feather Finish. Letting that fully dry, then sanding it one more time with some 220 grit sandpaper, and then of course it's time to seal it. Using the same black spray paint that we used in other areas of this project, we're just going to also apply that paint around the middle of this table. As I mentioned earlier, this table didn't come with an umbrella, so you really have two options. The cheapest option is to just plug that hole. They're between $5 and $10 off of Amazon, but in this case, because I'm gifting this to my sister, I wanted her to have an umbrella, so I went through mac.bid, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in this video. Some of you may remember when I found those Pottery Barn chair cushions. Now, I only needed 6 for my table as it only seats 6 people. So I found 8, which means I had 2 more left over. Decided to also gift these to my sister just to make the chairs a little bit more aesthetic and comfortable. Just took my fabric shaver to remove any pilling that was happening on the tops of these cushions. Just about $75 for a 2-person bistro set with an umbrella does not happen when you shop retail. And I think for a lot of people, they think, well, what they're sacrificing cost-wise isn't going to give them the look that they want. But in my personal opinion, this looks just as beautiful as if I were to buy something from West Elm, Crate and Barrel, Pottery Barn, but I didn't have to spend those insane prices. Moving along now to just our general summer decor, both indoor and outdoor. Now, I don't do a ton, but what I do want to incorporate, I want it to still feel sophisticated. So you do have to be really careful about the things that you're really contemplating at the thrift store. Whenever I'm shopping at these high-end stores, I'm paying attention to the colors, the textures, the items. What is the actual item that they're using to style? How are they styling? And eventually you can find really similar things at the thrift store if you go consistently. So kind of a no-brainer styling idea for any bookshelf, table centerpiece is to style with seasonal items. And you definitely don't have to pay the Pottery Barn price tag. You can go to the thrift store or even the Dollar Tree, fill it in a more seasonal specific bowl or just any bowl that you might already have, and you can essentially get an identical look without having to pay these insane prices. For the bigger shells, like the conch shells or anything that's scalloped or wavy, all of those materials you'll see often in summer, especially through Pottery Barn and Anthropologie, our house as well, and you can definitely curate a collection of these really minimal but seasonal pieces that will give your space a sophisticated feel. More often than not for me, I find the shape of something I really like that is seasonal, but I just don't like the color. But for just $1 and I have all of the other supplies, it's worth to see if I can get it to look a little bit more like something you might find at Pottery Barn. Doing a combination of leftover just white paint and mortar, mixing that together to give that stone-like look. If you don't have mortar, totally not a big deal. You can use baking soda, mix that with a little bit of acrylic paint, or you can even use sand with Mod Podge and just thin it out. Just as long as you're getting somewhere with that texture, you're gonna have a really similar look. Because I like my things to feel a little bit weathered and aged, I do like to go in with just a little bit of watered down antiquing wax, giving it just a little bit more dimension. Now, where I think people generally get tripped up is how do I utilize a piece like this, and also how can I style it? There are so many ways to answer this question. So for starters, you could just go to a high-end store or go to a website of a store that you really like, see how they're styling those pieces that are similar to what you're finding at the thrift store. Another really great resource is ChatGPT. So let's run through that together. This AI tool is going to give us several different ways that we can utilize a piece like this. Some of my favorite suggestions from both Pottery Barn and ChatGPT: if your opening for a shell like this is big enough, using it as a way to chill champagne or wine is a great idea. Also using it for florals, or if it has a drainage hole, you can use it for a real plant. Another idea that I would have totally never thought of was to use it as a speaker to kind of amplify the sound. Because this one does have that drainage hole at the bottom, I would be able to use my Alexa, just plug it in through the bottom, hides all of the cords and everything, or just use a Bluetooth speaker. It's also fine. I know the ones from Pottery Barn did have actual wax in their candles, which of course are so beautiful, but that would require a lot of time and a lot of wax. So I personally, especially during summer, like to use these pearl candles. They're so beautiful. They truly give off that beach coastal vibe in a really elegant way. But even if that is just still a little bit too literal for you, finding pieces that exude that summer feeling, this can be through color or through shape, will also give you a similar look. So I found this really beautiful handkerchief style vase. I actually really liked the smoked quality, but you could of course paint it if you wanted. Taking some florals, one tip with vases like this I've realized is you do need some sort of a floral frog at the bottom. Otherwise your florals are just not going to stay in place. I would say you could do the taping technique, but then I feel that you would still see a lot of the tape because it is a wide-mouthed vase. This vase just cost $1, and with the money that I saved shopping secondhand, I can afford to buy real florals all summer long. Speaking of florals and wreaths, this is definitely an area that can get really expensive. So when it comes to your front door decorating, you want that to really be a sophisticated reflection of the rest of your space. So one thing that I have found to be the easiest way to do that is to shop through Mac.bid. It is an online bidding site. This is how I found the umbrella in the beginning of this video for just $14. I also found this boxwood wreath for just $8. Usually when I leave Mac.bid, my car looks a little something like this, but you can can find nearly identical things to things that you would find through high-end stores, but at a much lower price point. Another really simple way to infuse that seasonality in your space is, of course, changing up your artwork. Now, I'm not saying you should go and buy huge art prints that have sailboats on them, but finding a couple of choice areas to add that seasonality in your space in an inexpensive way can be a really great idea. Especially for summer, anything woven will really give off that summer beach-like feel. You'll see a lot of these wall baskets. You can go to the thrift store and collect several of these, paint them if you'd like, for a much lower price point. Recently, my family and I took a very spontaneous trip to Florida over Memorial Day weekend. While there, we collected a ton of seashells, and I thought it would be just such a nice idea to remember that trip by framing one of those shells. Started off by just removing that hanger component and lifting out that back section there, so I will be able to use the back of it for whatever shells we do have. My kids and I went through all of the shells and stones that we found and decided we were gonna put this one in there, taking the leftover placemat that I was not going to be using, and I'm just going to add some spray adhesive so that way our shell has a nice backdrop to sit on. You can find things that look just like this at Hobby Lobby, Pottery Barn, and not only are they expensive, they lack anything personal to you. So if you do plan on doing any trips this summer, think about ways that you can incorporate the things that you might find in a really beautiful and aesthetic way. Lanterns are, of course, a great way to decorate both indoors and outdoors, and truthfully all season long, but because you're outside more, typically during the summer months, having a really great collection of lanterns is always something I recommend. I find black metal lanterns all the time at the thrift store, as well as these flameless flickering candles. Find these all the time as well. These are a small fortune at Pottery Barn, and you can find so many great ones at the thrift store. This one originally was from Hearth and Hand. I paid just $2 for it, as well as this little candle here that was just 30 cents. Ended up just being a perfect match. After a quick battery change and cleaning, it really is good as new. You could also choose to hang this on a shepherd hook. I would maybe just swap out the candle for a solar operated light bulb, but another really great way to enhance your outdoor lighting. Moving along now to summer textiles. This is an area, again, you just want to make sure the selections that you're choosing create a sophisticated environment. If ever you're on the fence about pattern or colors to use, opting with just a beautiful white linen is a great option. Found this cube ottoman here. We're just going to remove the cushion cover that was on it, which was nice because it was meant to be removed and then washed. I'm just going to break apart all of the seams so then I can see when I choose my fabric how I'm going to need to sew it back together. Basically, just using the previous textile as a pattern makes it so much easier. So I'm sure a lot of you know that Joann Fabrics is going out of business, so I was able to snag so much great fabric for almost nothing. Just going to match up the old fabric with the fabric that I'm choosing to recover this ottoman with. After cutting out all of the sections, I'm then just going to place the top on top of the ottoman, and then I'm going to lay all of the sides with the good sides facing together so the bad sides will be facing up top. I'm going to pin those down just to make sure that the corners are going to line up really perfectly, and then I'm just going to buzz that through the sewing machine based on what I marked. Also removed the Velcro sections from the previous fabric so that way I can just attach them to this fabric and it can still be a cover that I can of course remove. Adding this also to that bistro set will just give a relaxed summer vacation vibe. Some indoor textiles that are an easy swap. These really beautiful crushed denim blue Our House pillows are a small fortune if you were to shop it right at the store, but at my local thrift shop, the Hartville thrift shop, all of the pillows, unless otherwise marked, are just $3. Another thing I want to make sure to mention is if you find a pillow that maybe you're not crazy about the pattern that is on the front, you can always just turn that side to the back. Same goes for a pillow like this one. They're nice and neutral enough that they can go with most spaces. You definitely don't have to go to Target and spend $22 on a pillow. You can spend something like $3 instead. Of course, just any white textiles are just going to make your space, no matter what the season, feel clean and fresh. So anytime I see really great towels, Same as the pillows. If I don't like the sayings, you guys know I'm not ones for all of the word sayings. I can just flip that to the other side and no one knows the difference. Also, any table linens, so placemats, napkins, tablecloths, a really great thing to have during the summer months if you host often. Also found these really beautiful plates. Similar plates at Pottery Barn. For just 4 of them are $64, and I paid just $8.50 for the entire 16-piece set. These plates just remind me of black sand and give off a really summer-like feel, so I cannot wait to use these when we're hosting during the summer months. The last thing I really want to mention is it's because I find so much of it, so there's just no need to go to these high-end stores and pay a fortune for picnic-related items. You just don't need to spend it. So don't you dare go to Anthropologie and spend $88 on a basket and another $100 on a blanket. You can find all of that stuff and it can still be super beautiful at the thrift store. With all that being said, that really wraps it up for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments if you found something helpful, or what was your favorite project, or what is something that you hope that you can find at your thrift store. I hope that everybody is having a fantastic week, and I will see you back here next Sunday. Bye for now.